I want to get to Adam Silver's comments on tampering from over the weekend. Here is the quote: "I don't like trade demands, and I wish they didn't come, and I wish all those matters were handled behind closed doors." My argument has been, with all due respect to the commissioner, there is no closed door anymore. Your player, do you think there's a way to do this, quote, privately?
I think players only say things publicly when they have exhausted all of their options. So they'll try to handle things internally, and then if things aren't moving, then they'll make it public. Now, I notice when the players are doing this is largely in their prime. A lot of guys want to move around 6 years, 7 years, 8 years in their career, because I think at the end of the day, what we've learned from LeBron going to Miami, even though that's a different scenario, or KD going to Golden State, you can even say Jimmy Butler to Philly or Kawhi to Toronto. What you see is these guys want to win championships, and they don't want to waste their prime. So if you are wasting their time, like the Pelicans never built a successful system around Anthony Davis, maybe they'll make their demands public.
Good luck to Adam on this one. There are no secrets in the league that don't eventually get out. Whether they get out quickly or not, okay, but they always get out.
It's true.
And this helps feed the cycle.
Right, but here's like the practicality of it. What you said, when they take it public when they've exhausted private means. So we had an example last summer. Jimmy Butler says, 4 days after the season, I went to Tom Thibodeau privately and I said, you got to trade me. And no one really found out about it until the end of the summer, because that's when, quote, he made it more public. The reason nobody found out about it is because Tom did not try to trade him.
Exactly.
Right? So Tom didn't call anyone, so no one else knew about it. But if you make a trade request, and there is an earnest to like poke around the league to say, okay, well, Anthony Davis privately, really classy, he made his private trade request, which, by the way, he made it on a Friday. We didn't find out about it until Monday. If you start making phone calls around the league saying, what do you think we could get for Anthony Davis, do you think those other front offices are interested in keeping it a secret? And by the way, also, we had Kevin Durant, who was, really, criticized so much for not calling Russ himself, right? And saying, I'm leaving. If you make a trade request, are you under an obligation in today's NBA to tell your teammates, hey guys, you're my brothers I go to war with. I don't want you to find out from someone else. I have privately, quietly talked to the front office. Those players tell their families, they tell their wives, they tell their agents. I just don't think there's private anymore. I have to agree with Nick. I just don't think there's a way to do it. I want to get to Anthony Davis, because here's what he told NBA TV on Saturday about his trade request.
All 29 of the teams are on my list.
Everyone's on the list.
I don't have a preferred destination. Like I said, I just want to win. They ask me big market, small market. I don't care. I want to win. And obviously whatever team, I get traded to, play for it that year or whatever. If I get traded, I'm not sure, but just make the best of it, and then when free agency comes, see what happens.
This is like Pelicans. He's just not that into you. He'll go anywhere else. AD also did say before he went on MTV, before he went on NBA TV, he said to the print media, he said, hey, Boston was never not on my list of teams. Look, he doesn't have a list anymore because he's getting traded. He doesn't get to say where he goes. And he has made clear, the reason why a list isn't really important anymore is he's made it clear he wants to test his free agency in 2020. He doesn't want to get himself locked down to another team. So he's on the list of wherever he goes. But still, does that mean he's warming up to the Celtics?
Absolutely. And shout out to Rich Paul, who is right behind that first video going, uh-oh, what's happening?
Right.
This whole thing's a disaster in how it played out. The Pelicans are to blame. Anthony Davis is to blame. Rich Paul is to blame. The fact that it's gotten to this point is insane. But absolutely, if you're Anthony Davis and you know the Celtics have a legit chance to win, for sure that's something you got to think about now.
I agree, and that was the voice of a very desperate man. He's basically in the sunken place with the Pelicans, and he's like, you know what? At this point, I'm just trying to get out. It doesn't matter where you put me. This picture's common. But it's funny because if he goes to Boston, obviously, you think, oh, he might still have eyes on L.A. Well, what happened to Paul George last time? Everyone thought he was going to have eyes on L.A., and he messed around and found a bromance, a Brody.
He did find a Brody. Look, the Paul George's example is what Toronto is clinging to with Kawhi Leonard. It certainly will be what Boston, when they make their big move for AD, it's what they will be clinging to, too. It'll be interesting if Kawhi doesn't stay in Toronto. And then we have the flip side of the Paul George. People go back to thinking, hey, maybe that might not work. It's not worth betting the farm.